What's up, my doers and duets? Welcome to another episode of SportsCy. So this morning I wanted to take y'all to the grocery store so we can actually shop, but I ended up having a really early client that I scheduled at the last minute, so I'm really not gonna have too much time. But so far this diet, as you saw, weighing 180 pounds, really that's give or take. I really probably want to attribute it to the food that I ate last night. So yesterday I ate some flame broiler, which had about like 70 grams of protein, and then I ended up having a little bit more protein later on in the day by going to Trader Joe's Just Chicken, eating Trader Joe's Just Chicken, and then I also got this new protein, Hexapro, which is going to help me a lot, and it's also slow release, so I can have it early in the morning. So if I keep packing that, I'm going to be pretty good, and it's about 25 grams of protein per scoop. So if a nice leveled scoop, I'm going to get 25 grams of protein. I think I put 2 scoops this morning, so I'm already starting off at 50 grams, and then put in with some almond milk. Good to go. Anyway, so now it's time for me to actually get to the gym, train a client, and today I gotta make sure that I get a lift in. So we may not be going to the grocery store, but we're at least gonna focus on what exercises we need to look at if we're trying to maintain performance.
And then every time we have donuts, I buy like 3. I used to. Even work last
Alright, so I made it to the gym, man. Today is not one of the best days out here on the tennis courts, because out here in Southern California, when it rains, man, everything shuts down. So right now the entire tennis courts are all wet because a little bit of drizzle came in. There's supposed to be a bigger storm coming in this afternoon and tomorrow, so we're gonna see how that affects me, but that doesn't mean that I still can't stop training. So today what I'm actually gonna be doing is I'm gonna focus on talking to you guys about exactly how I train during this diet. So the most important thing that I have to maintain is performance. So that means I need to maintain muscle. Actually, speaking of which, let me actually show y'all. Actually, where's my phone? Because we were actually supposed to talk about nutrition, let me actually just sit down right here and tell y'all exactly what I ate yesterday. So all that stuff that I ate yesterday, again, we're talking about my let me pull up my FitnessPal. By the way, if you don't have my FitnessPal, it's a great tool for you to track your calories and also important macros. So my most important macro is going to be protein, but also I'm going to show y'all exactly what I ended up eating. So so this currently states that I eat 2,500 calories. As you actually like looked at it, it's part of it. Disregard that number because my actual number is 2,750 still, so we're still gonna go based on that. But what I ended up eating is I had some flame broil. As you can tell there, I was able to get chicken and beef plate, and I was able to get 66 grams of protein, 820 calories, not too bad. So getting some Trader Joe's 15 ounces where I was able to get 120 grams of protein, very good. And of course, I do like my mayonnaise, so I put in a little bit of Miracle Whip just because I don't like bland chicken. So I ended up having the Hexapro protein, which ended up adding about 75 grams of protein. Alright, so now that I've explained to you exactly what I ate, now the next thing I need to do is my lift. So for my lift, I'm trying to maintain athletic performance. So in order to do that, I need to make sure that I work on the most important exercises that lead to my athletic performance. Again, the vertical jump is still a very important thing to me. So the first thing that I do is I work on my core, and I get my core activated by working on hollow body holds. These are great because you're just going to get a good isometric contraction, and it's not going to be too hard on your body, but it just gets you primed for the next exercise. And the next exercise is military press. I like military presses just because they're really difficult, and they really engage your core and your shoulders and your upper chest. So as I'm working on this, because we're not working on trying to build too much muscle, we're trying to work on maintaining muscle. So I'm going to be doing 4 sets of 5, and I'm going to be doing at a pretty heavy weight. Let's set it up. tell, I was struggling a little bit, so I need to bring it down just a little bit. You know, I gotta keep my ego aside. You know, you don't want to get hurt. So I was doing 135 pounds. Obviously that's too heavy for me, so I need to maybe go down a good 10 pounds. So now we're just gonna put a 5 back on it and see the difference that it makes. So when you're doing military presses, you want to make sure you're squeezing your glutes, keep your core tight, because as you can tell on that last set I was doing, my back was starting to bend. So you don't want to do that when you're doing military presses. All right, so here we go. Much better. You can tell it's raining quite a bit right now. It's even getting to rep. So the way this final set is actually gonna go, I'm actually gonna reduce it just because honestly I want to go for a difficulty on a rated perceived exertion of about 8 or 9. The way that felt like almost like a 10, and it still was too heavy. So your boy, throughout this series, I gotta make sure that my military press goes up, or else that means I'm losing a lot of strength. But good thing we have enough protein. So let's get to the set. As you can tell there, that was much more controlled. And so now I can jump to the next exercise. All right, for the next exercise, now I gotta work on single leg Romanian deadlift. So what you're gonna need is you're gonna need a rack of dumbbells, and then what you're gonna do is this. So, excellent news. The sun has finally come back out. But man, these tennis courts are gonna be a little bit wet. So, just now that I finished the single leg RDLs, those are really good to feel it in your hamstrings and your glutes. But the important thing about those is that you wanna make sure that you keep your core tight, and also an important thing so you maintain balance and you don't run into an injury, you wanna lift the big toe on the leg that you're stabilizing on. This is gonna make it to where your tibialis anterior activates, and it's also gonna have you having more balance, and then you can actually finish it full range of motion. You don't need to have super heavy weight. I was using 2 30-pound dumbbells, which is strong enough. So now I can jump to an exciting exercise that I haven't gotten to share on the channel, and it's seated box jumps. Seated box jumps are excellent plyometrics. I'm actually going to be starting to do plyometrics pretty soon, just to keep working on my vertical. But seated box jumps are an excellent way to improve the power that you're having in that bottom portion of the vertical jump. So this is how it goes. So usually when you're setting up one of these, you want to make sure that it's about chest level or lower, but the whole point is to be able to use the bench, rock back, and jump on the box. And then to make it a little bit tougher, start holding on to a weight, and this is how you do it. Now with these, you want to make sure that you're not doing too many reps, because if you get fatigued, you're more likely to get injured. The whole point is making sure that you get the form exactly right. I landed on it a little bit unstable, but it's fine right now. As long as you're landing softly, controlled, And when you get to the box, you want to stand up so you get full extension, because that's how you're going to train your hips to get that full explosion. So I just finished lifting. I was actually gonna keep doing some more stuff. Now it's the way that my shoulder was feeling, actually when I did military presses, I could feel a little pinch in the back of my neck, and part of it is probably an indication. Wait, hold on a second, it's a little dark. Part of it is an indication that my body's telling me that something is tight. So it's likely that it's a shoulder related thing. So the next exercise that I was gonna work on is the actual pull-ups. So what I was gonna do with pull-ups is there's a thing where I time myself about 30 seconds or 45 seconds, and I try to do as many pull-ups as possible. The whole reasoning is because you're trying to get your upper body strong for that, just that quick movement, so that I'm gonna use that in my vertical jump. Right now, I'm just gonna cut my workout short, because the important thing when I'm dieting is because I'm trying to maintain muscle, but I'm also trying to make sure that I don't get hurt. As long as I hit one exercise really hard, that's really what I care for, because it's gonna be about consistency and making sure that every time I work out, there's one exercise that I hit really hard, and today it was the military press. I also ended up doing some seated box jumps, and those were good, and also some single leg Romanian deadlifts. That works the hamstrings really well. And even though I didn't get to do my pull-ups, it's also an indication that I need to work a little bit on shoulder mobility stuff. So I'm going to be working on that as the days go on. But for now, don't know what this afternoon is really going to entail. Even though it stopped raining and the sun is coming out, still don't know if I'm going to have athletes coming in today. So I'll catch up with y'all after I get that figured out. But so far, that's the end of the workout. So this is usually where I like to sit around. I like to overlook basically the Pacific Ocean. It's a lovely view. Usually it's nice enough when the sun is kind of setting down, but right now it's time for me to just chill over here, get some work done, program a little bit for myself. But speaking of programming, so how I plan to keep maintaining my performance is I need to make sure that I hit the intensity. So how I did that today is the first exercise that I worked on is by doing hollow body holds, so that I work on my core and then get my core activated. And then I decided to bite a little bit more than I could chew, and I did some military presses. Now, with military presses, it's important to make sure that your shoulder mobility is right, because as I mentioned while I was doing it, I started to feel a little bit of a pinch in my back. It's not necessarily a bad problem, it's just I need to pay more attention to my shoulder mobility. But to explain, military presses are going to be great because it's going to work my core, it's going to work my deltoids, and it's also going to work my upper back and traps. So it's going to be aesthetically pleasing. And then the next exercise that I did, I ended up doing some Romanian deadlifts, single leg Romanian deadlifts, just so I can really work on that hamstring, because that's an area of mine that I tend to neglect, because I tend to have what they call anterior tilt, where I have my butt basically kind of up, and it may look aesthetically pleasing to the ladies, but it's not the healthiest thing. So after that, I decided to do some weighted seated box jumps, just so I could work on that power movement, and then also work from starting at a static position to be able to launch myself up. Again, the key to these, you don't want to do too many of them, because if you get fatigued, you're likely to have bad form, and it's going to lead to an injury. But I wish the weather was a little bit nicer. You know, as this series keeps going on, you're gonna see a little bit more of this beauty. I mean, we're gonna get closer to summer, you know, which is why I'm cutting. Again, the whole thing we're trying to work on is injury prevention, but we're also gonna maintain that performance while we get cut. So that does it for the day. Hopefully you enjoyed this video. If you're new to the channel, go ahead and subscribe, because it's cool on SportsCy, and I'll catch y'all next time. Thanks for checking